La 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 la. Okay, right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Fat Gingers Have a Conversation, Episode 6, our first ever global episode being recorded live in Brisbane, Australia, and Aberdeen, UK.
What we're going to talk about today?
Well, I'm going to start. Obviously, I spent a long time on a plane to get here to Brisbane, and I watched a lot of movies. And I think I finally remembered which ones I watched as well. Because when you're flying and you're traveling and you watch a ton of movies on the flight, it's quite easy to forget what you watched. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what I watched. And then I'm going to talk about Transformers because I did go and see it yesterday.
Of course you did.
So on my flight, the first film I watched was the Lego Batman movie.
Nice. Had you seen it before?
No, this was my first time. I popped my Lego Batman cherry.
Nice.
Have you seen it?
I have.
It is fantastic, isn't it?
I did enjoy it very much. Yes.
Even better than the Lego movie, I think. Yeah, it was surprisingly good. I mean, I'd heard it was good. I heard it was funny, but I was taken aback by how good it was. For me to be sitting on a flight watching that, giggling away, surrounded by hundreds of people in a tube, 30,000 feet above the earth, was quite the thing, because usually I'm quite quiet. But no, this film had me laughing out loud. I lolled.
Wow.
And I followed up by a film called The Belko Experiment, which is directed by an Australian chap whose name I can't remember other than it starts with Greg. He made the Wolf Creek films and an Australian crocodile horror film called Rogue. And it was written by James Gunn, who is the guy who writes and directs Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2.
Yes, I thought I recognized the name.
I watched that, and it had some of my favourite actors in it, namely John C. McGinley, which is Dr. Cox from Scrubs. It had Tony Goldwyn in it, who most people know as the naughty best friend from the film Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. Sean Gunn, who appears in all of James Gunn's films, he was in it.
But nepotism going on there.
It is, but Sean Gunn's also, he plays a certain type of character very well. If you've ever watched the Gilmore Girls, you'll know what I mean.
I'm sad to say that I haven't.
You should watch it. I think like me, you would like the Gilmore Girls. It's very quick-witted and it's very conversationally driven. You might surprise yourself. I surprised myself. I can't even remember why I put the first episode of the Gilmore Girls on. It's probably because Netflix was doing a revival of it and everybody was all excited. And I thought, what's everybody excited about? So I put it on and I binge watched 7 series in about 3 months, I think.
Okay. Is there, if I'm going to do this, because I'm willing to take a plunge on this, if I'm going to do this, where should I start?
Start with the original first episode, and I would say give it 2 episodes. Because if you're like me, you watch the first one, you go, yeah, that's fairly clever. I quite like this, and then you put it down again for a week or so.
My general rule is I'll give it 3. Yeah,
so 2. If you're not in it by 3, then you're not in it. But as I say, I think like me, it's full of pop culture references and things like that. So for me, that was quite good. I liked the characters. They were quirky and different enough. They had enough sarcastic characters to keep me amused. But surprisingly, I liked it. In fact, I loved it. And I binge watched it, much to the chagrin of my wife, who I think was less interested than I am. But never mind.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Third film I watched was Split, the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes, I've seen that quite recently as well.
With James McAvoy.
Yeah.
And the twist ending and everything. And
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the twist ending.
We won't.
Is it too soon?
Spoil it. I think it's too soon. But, it was all right. It wasn't brilliant. It wasn't terrible, but it was better than some of the shit he's done recently, I think.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, actually. It was elevated by the entirely unnecessary, frankly, the entirely unnecessary bit at the end, which...
Well, other than it sets up a universe.
Which apparently is happening as well.
Yeah. But I will say this, for James McAvoy was outstanding.
Yes. I mean, that must be...
personalities had a proper character attached to them.
That must be an actor's dream. Having that script land on his desk must have just been, assuming he has a desk, and assuming scripts land on it. that must be a character actor's dream to get something like that. So yes, you'll be in this film and you'll be playing like 5, 6, 7, 8 different characters, and you'll barely have to change costume in between them. It's just a showcase of your acting ability.
Yeah, and he did very well.
Mm-hmm.
He was showcased.
Yes.
But then if you've ever seen some of the non-X-Men stuff that he does, he's very good anyway.
Yes.
Filth is one of my favorite more recent films that nobody ever
Yeah, I
talks
like
about.
Filth. Filth's good.
And he was brilliant in Filth as well. So there was that, and then I watched Beauty and the Beast, which I enjoyed as well.
Beast, yeah.
The new one, the Emma Watson, Dan Stevens one, yeah.
Okay.
With Luke Evans as Gaston.
Mm-hmm. And was there singing in it? I believe there singing.
Was. Oh no, yes, it's a full musical.
Is there a singing kettle?
There is.
So they've really done the whole of that. Gosh.
They have. There are some differences.
Of course, it's Ewan McGregor, isn't it? Isn't Ewan McGregor the
Ewan McGregor's
the teacup?
No, he is neither. He is the
he's a singing something. Yes,
he's
that's
the
the one.
singing candelabra.
He's Gaston. No, it's not. That's not Gaston. Is it?
No, it's Gaston. No, Gaston's the what's the word I'm looking for?
Douche.
Yes.
There you go.
Douche. He is the douche. It also has. I mean, I'm assuming now that you haven't seen it. I thought you'd maybe seen it because you're all musically in taste like I am. It has Disney's first openly gay character in it, and he's not as openly gay as, you know, he doesn't jump around going, "Hey, guess what? I'm gay," but he very clearly is, and apparently was written and acted to be very clearly gay. But he doesn't jump around going, "Hey, I'm a homosexual," which is quite good, because if it was if they did it that way, look, here's our first openly gay character, and he's going to prance around the screen telling everybody how gay he is, then that might have been a little bit insulting.
A little bit on the nose.
So the next one was John Wick 2.
Ah, yes, John Wick 2, which I saw just yesterday.
And now I loved the first John Wick. I thought it was really, really well done.
Yes.
It was not overly long. It was to the point, and you never got a chance to stop and breathe and think how ridiculous this is. And John Wick 2 was exactly the same. I liked it. I really liked it. I don't know how they play back to back because they are very similar.
They play all right back to back.
Good.
And
what John Wick 2 comes out next year.
Ah, right. As soon as that, nice.
And also the John Wick TV series, but it's not the John Wick TV series. I believe it is a TV series based around the Continental Hotel, which is the Assassin's Hotel in John Wick. So they're doing a whole thing. They're creating a whole universe around John Wick. But
that's the thing I like best about it is the universe that they live in. That's what is so compelling to me. Keanu Reeves is perfectly decent in what he does. I can imagine a number of other people could do it just as well. I'm not going to say better. He doesn't have a huge amount to do there apart from kicking ass bit, which he is well equipped to do, I believe.
Yeah, he kicks ass and he snarls a bit. And he gets to talk in that kind of droll, I'm not happy voice that he does so well.
Gets to have a conversation with Morpheus, which I wasn't expecting.
That was a nice touch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bringing them back together on the screen was nice. But yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think Keanu Reeves takes a huge wage bracket for it. I think he did the first one because he liked it, and he seems to be doing a lot of films these days because he likes them, if that makes sense. They don't seem to fit the mold. They're not Speeds or Matrices or attempts at anything like that. He did one with Eli Roth called Knock Knock, which was very good. He doesn't seem to be following a script or a pattern other than, it maybe interests him. It's nice that he's there.
It is, and I wonder if he's somewhat self-aware, because he's not. I mean, with no offense to the guy, he's not the actor with the biggest range in the world. No,
he's no De Niro.
And he seems to be, nowadays at least, seems to be picking projects that he is well suited for. So I wonder if he's going to go that level of awareness.
I think if you enjoy something, if something interests you, you probably attach to it better than if you do it because you're getting paid a lot of money for it.
Yes.
I think we all do things that we're passionate about far better than things that we're, just doing because we have to do them.
I would agree wholeheartedly. But as anyone who listens to this podcast can attest to, I think being passionate about a thing does not necessarily make you good at it.
You can say that. We have many listeners, double figures of listeners around the world.
I'm sure we're being held
Iran.
up in media classrooms around the world as an example of how not to do things.
Indeed. Somebody listened from Iran.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So the last film that I watched before landing was Top Gun, because it was on the list, and I thought, why the hell not? It was a guilty pleasure. I hadn't seen it in a while, and yeah, I just put it back on, and you know, I thought of our conversations about it, the acting, the script, the direction. They're all very, very dated, but in a wonderfully kitsch way, if that makes sense. It's completely not, you know, it's completely unaware of what it's doing. It's not self-aware at all,
No.
which is nice. And that leads me on to my next statement around a film I watched yesterday, or leads me on to the conversation.
Yes.
So I went to see Transformers the last night yesterday, and I know the critics have mauled it, so I went in with very, very low expectations. But I'm happy to say it's so much fucking worse than I read. It is horrendous shite. There's going to be tons of spoilers in this, so you haven't seen it, and if you're at all interested, well, don't turn off, because we want to keep our listeners. But, you know, anyway, who's going to watch it now? It's utter dog crap. But yeah, it tried to be self-aware. There was a wink and a nod of how shit this film is at every fucking stage of the film. Tonally, it was all over the place. The only thing they got right, thinking back again to our previous conversation about Transformers films, was you see far less working parts of the Transformers. So when they fight, they're clearly different colors and things like that to make it easy to track. And they've slowed it down a bit. But it started with King Arthur.
Of course it did.
And if that's not bad enough, they're about to be beaten, and King Arthur's saying, no, Merlin will come through with his magic. And one of the other guys goes, Merlin's nothing but a fraud and a drunk. Cut to Stanley Tucci, who's a brilliant actor, playing Merlin on a horse, drinking out of a bottle, going, I'm sozzled. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, that's supposed to be a joke. It's not cut away and he's on a horse drunk. It's cut away and he's on a horse drunk, and he almost looks at the camera to actually tell us that he's drunk. And the film's like that all the way through. It's got a tone that's all over the place. Anthony Hopkins turns up, and he plays a cross between a mental patient and a history professor, and at times he almost seems like he's going to go full Silence of the Lambs. It's just everywhere.
You wonder sometimes why. I don't mean to deliberately cause offence to it. So yes, I agree with you. The Transformers film's been rubbish, but they've tried to not be rubbish, haven't they?
I think they have, but this one just almost seemed like everybody was, apart from Mark Wahlberg, who played it completely straight. Yeah. Everybody was, this is a really shit film, and we know it's a shit film. You have baby Dinobots in this film.
But why would you, as Sir Anthony Hopkins, why would you take on that project?
I don't know. I guess there was a certain amount of fun when he looked at the script and thought, I can play this completely off the wall. And my sociopathic Transformer butler is voiced from the head butler from Downton Abbey. There's a great joke for you, because that's one of the jokes.
Wow. I mean, I didn't think Mark Wahlberg was the worst thing in the last movie. To be honest, I thought he was one of the things that actually kept it together, because he plays it straight, because he doesn't treat it like it's a joke. It's ridiculous. He sort of grounds it a little bit.
I guess maybe so. But he's just there. He's Mark Wahlberg. He's okay. I kind of make fun of him a lot, but he's all right. He doesn't do anything wrong. But you get the scene where so he's the last knight. Again, the human character is the focus of this. He's the last knight, and a transformer thing attaches itself to him, and then becomes a great big gigantic sword later on, which stops another transformer sword. And this transformer is about twice the size of Optimus Prime, and it stops this other transformer sword from striking Optimus Prime down.
Of course it does. That's not just immediately going to tear him in two.
No, absolutely not. So he's the last knight, and a and he's the last knight because he's honest, sincere, and chaste. And they make a joke about chaste as well, and then they go, "No, I knew it was a joke. Haha, I'm just being funny as well." And it's like, what the fuck? Leave it as him coming across dumb, but don't make a joke about it. Point out how dumb he is, and goes, "No, no," and then he goes, "No, no, I was being funny too." Ha 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 ha. It was to the point where he gets to be the last knight, not because he's a virgin, but because he hasn't had sex for so long. Which his daughter points out that he hasn't been on a date for ages, but just over the phone, because she's not actually in it. He only speaks to her over the phone. And then, of course, so him and this English professor woman start getting this connection, and then she sees him without his shirt on, and he's got all wet abs because he's been in the water and everything, which I'm guessing is some sort of play on the first film with Megan. What's her face again? Megan Fox. No, Bumblebee.
Not a nod to James Bond?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's that.
Doesn't do the walking out of the water thing.
No. They're on a Transformer submarine at this point.
Of course they are.
Yeah. And they also take Transformers mythology. We were talking about this. Is the history of Transformers mythology, and sexually abuse it in the worst possible way. So one of the things I loved about Transformers, especially Transformers the movie, was Unicron, the Planet Eater. Fantastic, massive, evil, almost unstoppable, ultimate evil. Yeah, baddie.
And
in
not,
this one,
not ridiculous in that you have a planet that becomes a robot. That's not
fine. I can live with that.
I guess if you accept that cars and trucks and tanks can become robots, then why not a planet? I guess.
Indeed, but in this one, Cybertron's dying. It's coming to Earth to connect to Earth, to Earth's planet, because Earth is Cybertron's sworn enemy. Number one bad guy. Earth is Unicron.
Are you telling me that Earth is a transforming planet?
Earth has, well, we don't find out, because at the end, the whole Unicron thing is just, it's mentioned because there's these big horns that come out of Earth. And we also find out what Stonehenge is for. Stonehenge was the central energy thing for Unicron.
It's not a steering wheel then, no?
No, it's no. Wouldn't that be fantastic? No, I think it's Unicron's mouth, to be honest. But yeah, so the setup for the sequel.
That's a small mouth, right?
It is.
Given the size of Earth and the comparative size of Stonehenge, that's a tiny, tiny mouth. That's more like a pore.
The only reason I can surmise that it's Unicron's mouth is, if you remember the original Transformers movie, the animated one, that big energy inlet.
Yep.
Had these horns that came out, yeah.
But it was like a Death Star sized disc, you know. It
was.
Whereas Stonehenge is like, I don't know, a turbo laser on the skin of the Death Star by equivalent.
It is, but the only reason I'm thinking that is it's the center of these horns. So, you've got these horns, you've got Unicron's. Maybe it's his asshole. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's so small. Maybe it's his puckered anus. Stonehenge is Unicron's puckered anus. But yeah, and that's the setup for the sequel, is Unicron is still in Earth, or Earth is still Unicron, or something. Something like that. I don't know. Because they only touch upon it, that Earth is Cybertron's sworn enemy, Unicron. But you get the whole Optimus turns bad until him and Bumblebee are fighting, and Bumblebee goes, "Save Martha," and Optimus Prime goes, "Hey, Martha was my mum's name too."
That's just silly.
That
doesn't make any sense. That's a different movie.
It's almost that the reason that Optimus Prime doesn't go through with full evilness and manages to shake off the virus that has been put inside him by the makers of Transformers, is almost as bad as the Martha thing.
I have to say that for all that you are doing your absolute damnedest to berate this film and put it down, I'm more keen on seeing it now than I was.
I watch it because, yeah, I understand that it almost sounds so bad it's good. And I guess to a certain extent, if I was to watch it back, if I was to ever swallow that bitter, bitter pill and watch it back, it might be. But it almost seemed like that's what they were going for. They were going for the "we're so bad we're good," wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, everybody, we're in on the joke that we make shit films.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
Well, here's the thing. Here's a role, perhaps, that the Transformers films seem to fulfill. And they're not unique in this, but they are certainly a fine example of it, and I can't offhand think of any others. If you want to stick on a film that you will not remember 10 minutes after you've seen, and that you can probably watch next week again, that is not going to cause you to physically vomit, if you want explosions on a screen and stuff like that, it's inoffensive drivel. But are you saying that this one has actually crossed the line into being offensive?
It actually was in parts. As I say, the King Arthur thing and the whole link back. So yeah, the one thing I forgot to tell you here: Transformers have played a major role in human history, and it's been hidden from us the whole time. So they won World War II for us. They assassinated Hitler. They were part of the American Revolution of some sort or something. They were part of the Napoleonic Wars, but that's all hidden by this secret society. And I'm thinking, transforming creatures winning wars, kind of hard to hide. And then all of a sudden, you go back to the first one, and Sam Witwicky helps Bumblebee and that with the cube of glowiness and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, the secret society goes, well, fuck it, it's time that everybody knew anyway.
This is an interesting thing as well.
Ridiculous concept.
You're surely going to have to be careful if you're going to do that, if you're going to try and retrofit these Transformers into human history, especially where wars or conflicts are concerned. You're going to have to be careful what side you put them on, aren't you?
Well, that's it.
Because if you look at...
It always seemed to be the Autobots. The Decepticons only just seem to appear now.
Mm-hmm. But thinking it this way, so you've got the World Wars 1 and 2, and that's a fairly well-defined good and evil thing. You've got the baddies were the baddies, right? Especially Second World War. Second World War, you've got a fairly well-established and incontrovertible evil there, right?
Well, yeah, they did some very, very horrific things.
Yes, exactly. And not that I would imagine if you had all of the facts available to you, there weren't some pretty horrific things done by the Allies as well. But the Nazis are considered, I think, fairly universally bad by more or less everybody now, apart from nutcases.
Yes.
But take something.
Hold on 1 second there. I just want to throw something in here, and I'm going to be political, and I'm going to do it, and you can edit it out if you want.
I feel that this is going to be an edited out thing.
It very well might be. The Nazis started with expelling the Jews from Germany and the countries they took over, I think, if I remember my history right. And then they started to intern them. Mm-hmm. And then they started to kill them. Yeah, and then they started to kill them in huge numbers. Okay? Yes. And since the terrorist attacks in London and Manchester, there has been a very strong voice in the UK to eject all of Muslims from the United Kingdom. And if we can't do that, to intern the ones that we think might maybe at some point have looked up something that we don't agree with. So
that's a little good, but
where the Nazis went to was very, very evil.
Yes.
But based on what we're seeing now in the UK,
I'm not arguing with the fact that there's some fairly appalling rhetoric going on just now. The point I was making in the film is you're going to have to be careful how you retrofit the Autobots into history, because where you've got something where you've got good and a pretty well-defined, universally defined evil, then that's fair enough. You can put them on the side of good. But look at something like, taking a British example, the Falklands conflict. So what side does the Autobots go on there? Because Argentina didn't think they were in the wrong.
No, they didn't. But
so...
I mean, they didn't touch upon that one because that one's far too controversial.
That's what I mean, yeah. You have to be careful. That's the whole point I'm making. You're going to have to be very careful the wars you pick. I mean, for goodness sake, what are they going to do with Vietnam? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
it seems to be obvious what they want to do, but...
Yeah. But they didn't touch upon that one. They touched upon, as I say, the major ones. I'm guessing if it was the Falklands War, they would have been on the side of the UK, because the whole secret society that protects the Transformers' identity and all their historical secrets.
Is run by Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Is run by Sir Anthony Hopkins and his historic Earl family in the UK. So they're always on the side of good, which makes us wonder how we ever lost any war with anybody ever.
Did we?
But, well, uprisings in places and things like that, as the empire shrank. I mean, did the Transformers help us with our British Empire? Because that wasn't the most morally clean thing that was ever done by a country in the world.
I would imagine that the Queen is actually a Transformer, and that's why we still have a Commonwealth.
Could very well be. I mean, it's wonderful how. Anthony Hopkins sneaks into Number 10 Downing Street from the secret entrance that even the Prime Minister didn't know about. Mm-hmm. And the Prime Minister is a relatively young man, and Anthony Hopkins sits in his room, and the Prime Minister shouts the police in, and he says, no, I'm talking about something. And the Prime Minister starts speaking over him, and Anthony Hopkins goes, shut up and listen. And everybody just shuts up and listens at this strange man that's just wandered into the Prime Minister's office.
Well, he's a knight of the realm. Of course you're supposed to shut up and listen.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's that level of ridiculousness. But it's not that entertaining either. I understand what you're saying about if you want a film like that, but if you want a film like that, you don't have to spend $200 million on it and take something like that and that has potential. If you want a film like that, watch fucking Sharknado. Mm. Watch these TV series, the Once Upon a Times or the Supernaturals or stuff like that, which and I get it. This film's for everybody. The kid who was sitting next to me seemed to love it. Got really excited at the fighting robots and things like that. And it must be, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that. There's so much potential in a Transformers type universe. If they treated it more like a Marvel type universe, and apparently it's going to be a universe. We're going to get films 6 and 7. We're going to get a Bumblebee spin-off and whatever else.
Everything has to be a universe now, it seems.
Everything has to be a universe. Well done, Marvel. You've pumped out some good films recently over the last kind of 10 years or whatever. You created your universe, but you have created a monster.
You've given the world a blueprint for making money.
Yeah. And unfortunately now some of the things that we love will be bastardized on screen into universes like the Universal monsters, which was supposed to start with the Dracula film with Luke Evans, which I really enjoyed. Didn't do so well. So they've kind of written it off and said, no, that wasn't really part of our, even though it had a post-credit sequence and was the first film. It was the start of the conversation about a universe. It's like, we'll see how this one does. And then Tom Cruise came along and said, I want my mummy. And they completely misunderstood him. And they made Mission Impossible with a mummy, but not as good. But that's now the launching point for the universe. Brendan Fraser must be laughing his ass off at how badly that film's done.
Yeah, I watched.
He loves every minute of it.
I watched a thing on YouTube the other day about why they reckon the Mummy was such a failure, and one of the biggest points was that nobody wanted a reboot. The Mummy films are treasured. Nobody wants them to be remade.
Well, there's an example. The Mummy 1 and 2, especially, with the exception of the awful Rock CGI, Rock Scorpion King CGI at the end of The Mummy 2. But The Mummy 1 and 2, there's examples of what you spoke about. Big action, fun films that don't have to be brilliant, they don't have to be that memorable, but they've found a place in people's hearts. I like those films.
But then they are memorable.
Funny. They are memorable from a certain extent, but I could watch them again without remembering a lot of what went on in the film. I just remember I enjoyed, and I remember bits of them, but I don't remember it like I remember.
Time. The difference is time has to pass.
Yes,
I could literally have watched Dark of the Moon. Say, I could have watched Dark of the Moon last week, and I'm not sure I could tell you what went on in it. It's that forgettable. It's basically it's, and this is maybe a thing with Michael Bay films. It's a film of explosions. And but for all he tries to make them character-based, I remember very little about the characters.
Do you even remember whether you liked it or not?
Dark of the Moon?
I mean, I just remember having a dislike for most of the Transformers films, but I remember I liked the Mummy films. I remembered I enjoyed them. and I want to see them again if they're on TV or something like
yes,
that.
but that's the point.
I
The
would
point I'm making there is that
switch off.
they're not the same type of film I'm describing Transformer films as. Those are films that I will go back to when I've not seen them because I enjoyed them, because I know I enjoyed them. I don't have to watch every detail of them because I'm familiar enough with them. I can have them. They can be what I call second monitor viewing while I'm doing something else. But I won't instantly forget them. I'll come out of the movie and be happy that I've seen it, and that glow will last a bit, and I'll remember quotes from it for a while and everything like that. It's, a decent movie. And then some months, years later, I'll go and watch it again. So that'll be good. I'll watch that. As opposed to the Transformers movie, which I will put on when I'm bored and listless and I'm looking through wanting something to put on that's maybe a bit sci-fi, a bit action-y. I'll put that on. I don't remember that. I'll put that on. I don't remember if I enjoyed it or not. I'm not left with a thing saying that I liked it, but I'm not left with a thing saying I didn't like it either. I'll put it on. I'll watch it. It'll be 2 hours of my life gone. And then nothing will have lodged in my memory about it to remind me next time that I should or shouldn't watch it.
I think this new one is nearly 3 hours long, so it's 3 hours of your life you'll have to lose for that one when you watch it.
But then I won't even remember that, unless I'm left with an impression saying that was really long, and that lodges in my memory for the next time I'm bored and listless and looking through for a movie to try and watch. Then I'll stick it on, and it'll be another 3 years of my life gone, and I'll repeat this.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the assumption that you're going to remember the same things that I've spoken about, or some of the things that I've spoken about. Because, as I say, the Transformers films up until now, the first one was all rightish, and they got gradually worse to the one before the last night, which I can't remember, where the Dinobots were introduced, which I fell asleep the first time I watched it, and it was just plain.
I don't even remember them
to watch.
I don't even remember the Dinobots in that movie. I remember being called Age of Extinction. I remember that, it's that because there's Extinction in it and there's Dinobots in it. And I think at some point Optimus Prime is on the back of one of them.
Yeah, he rides one of the Dinobots. That's pretty much the point of them. They're not the big destructive force that they are in the Transformers universe. They are pets, and even more so in this one. They are truly pets in this one. Like Grimlock is treated like a dog. Yeah.
And of course,
he's got to spit out his toy, and then he gets a scolding from Mark Wahlberg for picking up the policeman's car in the first place. And then you get the baby Dinobots. I fuck knows where the baby Dinobots came from. There's absolutely zero explanation. There are baby Dinobots, and I don't even know if there's a female Dinobot or how Transformers procreate or anything else. Where the fuck did these baby Dinobots come from?
Are there Insecticons in the Age of Extinction movie? I seem to remember insect Decepticon things. Yeah. But they were insect-sized, and presumably as robots would be insect-sized as well.
Oh, yes. And the other awful thing about this, while I'm going to get really ranty on this. Mm-hmm. Humans don't like Transformers anymore, and they've turned against them, even the good Transformers, and there's a TRF, Transformers Response Force, which just kills all Transformers it finds, essentially, and they have the weapons to do it, and it's really, really easy for them, it seems.
We know this, though. This was maybe not quite so extreme, but this has been in other movies as well. Because it's what's his name that is in charge of them, who keeps appearing in movies. Well,
it's nobody's in charge of them now. Or there is, but they see it's a global force as well. And yeah, they've got weapons and technology that more or less make the Autobots and the Decepticons look like fairies, until the point where they have to be the heroes, in which case the TRF are all of a sudden a useless force. So they've been hunting down and destroying all of these Transformers, and then
I'm sure we saw that before.
I think it was teased upon in Age of Extinction, but they were hunting down the Decepticons only at that point. Now they're after everybody.
But that's because the Autobots willingly incarcerated themselves, didn't they?
Something like that. Yeah, that's how the last one started, if I remember. Mark Wahlberg finds Optimus Prime, and they've been looking for him. That's right, you're right. But in this one, as I say, this TRF force seems to be, for the first third of the movie, scary as shit. Transformers are terrified of them almost. Yeah. They can destroy Transformers easily. And then all of a sudden it's like, right, we need to make the Transformers the heroes again. And all of a sudden the TRF can barely touch them, and they're completely useless. And you think, why have the Transformers, Decepticons or Autobots, been hiding and cowering from this force, when all of a sudden they can just go, right, we've kind of had enough now. And the TRF are useless. Pathetic. Plot holes everywhere.
Yeah.
More plot holes than Mark Wahlberg has abdomen muscles.
He would have 8, wouldn't he?
I don't know. I didn't count them. I think that woman tried counting them. But
yes.
I mean, again, she went off fluttery.
If they're shiny and all, picked out in light and stuff, then I guess they're relatively
shiny, oiled. Yes. Yes, and she hadn't had sex for a long time either. And that was made clear also. So there's a whole joke where she's upstairs and her mother and her aunt and everybody are downstairs and they're looking for something in her dad's office. They're saying things like, take it out and shake it around and whatever else. Ha ha, fnar, fnar, juvenile humor. And bang, bang, thud, thud, and all the mum and the aunt and everyone downstairs going, ha ha, they're obviously having sex. Ha ha ha, this is so funny. Let's listen. And it's like, oh my God, this is... Yes, it's actually beginning to sound like Carry On Transformers.
But this is the
Carry
thing.
On Transformers.
It is. But this is the thing. Your visceral reaction to this movie is the thing that has coloured your opinion of these things. Because any of these things, as you're describing them, taken out and out as small pieces of film, the laughing about them having sex upstairs, in another movie, that might have been funny.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was sitting watching it, there's a scene where Anthony Hopkins has been driven around and he flips the bird to a police officer as they go past him. And there was a part of me that sat there looking at it going, if that had been done in a slightly different way or had been coloured in a different way,
or just been in a different movie.
No, if he'd been playing it straight as opposed to just this random mentally ill character, which they poke fun at again. They poke fun at the fact that he might be mentally ill, and he goes off on these strange tangents and then comes back to center. But there's no real structure around it, if that makes sense. It's almost done. It's almost like they edited out parts of it to explain, his character changing so significantly in parts. But as I say, if he'd been relatively straight up to that point, if he'd been a relative straight man and then done that might have been funny. But the fact that he was all over the shop character-wise, just again, it just kind of took the humor out of it. It was almost like they were trying too hard to be meta. But hey, there'll be another one. And there'll be another one, and there'll be another one because they make a lot of money. Stupid idiots like me have to go and see them to see how bad they are or how good they are. And the parts of it that I thought would be the worst parts, so the King Arthur backstory and all that, it's completely ridiculous. And I wish they hadn't done it because it just, the whole inserting Transformers throughout human history is almost like our protectors, but none of us know it. Seems absolutely ridiculous. But that's not the worst part of it. I think the worst part of it was actually their attempt at humor. Yeah, so there you go.
Well,
ranty Transformers, ranty.
Ranty Transformers, yeah.